Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you're watching in the world, welcome along to F1 Esports Series Challengers here tonight on the PC, where once again we take you to Monza and Suzuka, let loose the 16 fastest drivers we can find on PC, and see what happens out there. Two legendary tracks coming up for you in our normal format order. We couldn't, of course, do this without the legendary Justin Sutton alongside me here tonight. Justin, we've had two nights already of great racing action. We've had some rain thrown in there, we've had some drama, we've had some spins, we've had some crashes, we've had a little bit of everything even before we head into tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We've also had some around the outsides at turn 1 and 2 yesterday and at 130R on Tuesday as well. Suzuka in particular seems to be the place where they love going around the outside this week. But of course, we are going to be going to Monza first, where we saw that rain yesterday, which made things very, very interesting. Zero stop. Heavy weather, wet weather tires, really interesting stuff. And it's got me hyped for the final races of this fourth event. Still got one more event to go after this, but these are the last of the races for this week's event.
Absolutely, and of course, looking forward to getting stuck straight into the action. Let's give you a little bit of a rundown about how everything looks on the PC side going into tonight's events. If you've missed anything so far, here you can get up to date. Alessio Di Capua leads the standings so far on 84 points. It's Nicolas Matteo in second place on 74. Patrick Sipos in third on 72. Josh Idaho in fourth place on 64 points. Atta Kalpanen in fifth on 60. And it's Ruben Vallejo in sixth place there, rounding off the top six positions on 59 points. Benta Sabo Conyi just outside of the top six there in seventh place, 56 points, with Kevin Balash in eighth, Sven Nöller in ninth, and Jan Fehler rounding off the top 10. To take you through the rest of the standings then, see where everyone lies. Tom Martinez, Tom 97, is in 11th place on 6 points. Pablo Hoglar in 12th, with Norbert Jakob in 13th place. Julian Naumann in 14th, Iker Baena in 15th, and Jake Wills rounding off the top 16 drivers. And it gets to that point, Justin, where now these top six positions, the gap, as we've previously said yesterday and on Tuesday night as well, the gap between the top six and everybody else starts to narrow down the further and further we get into challenges. At some point, it's going to be mathematically impossible for some of these drivers to even make the top six.
Yeah, that's right. Interestingly, there's a bigger gap in the midfield on the PC side heading into today's races compared to the platforms that we saw earlier this week. It's very tight within the top three, for example, just 10 points, 12 points, something like that. Very close. But then after Benta Sabaconi in 7th position, it's 25 points down to Kevin Balash in 8th position. That is a big old gap. And a lot of points to overhaul. Now, we did see some drivers earlier this week bring home a lot of points, 35 points or more in just from these two races. So they're certainly not out of it just yet. But as you mentioned, it is crunch time, and they really need to score big here this week if they want to have a chance at that top six at the next event.
Without a doubt, and we do have one driver who we believe is not going to be racing tonight. We believe it's going to be Kevin Balash, who's had some hardware difficulties. We've seen a couple of them this week so far, but we understand he's not racing tonight. And as we look at his point scoring tally, 8th place, 31 points, and one of the leader runners to try and break into the top six. Possibly no points for him tonight. That's going to hurt him going into the last event.
It's been a bit of a curse this week, hasn't it? People either right on the bubble of 6th or just outside of 6th in the championship standings heading into the races this week. Someone on every platform has had some sort of hardware difficulty. I want to say this is the only event where we've seen that kind of consistency. So again, I ask the question, is one of these tracks just breaking the hardware of these drivers or something? Just, it's so intense at Suzuka maybe that it's just breaking their wheels. But yeah, it's really unfortunate. As I mentioned, he's in 8th. He's the person that's has that 25-point gap to the next person ahead of him. But that's really not going to help him with nil points today, of course.
No, absolutely not. So he'll be hoping that his rivals ahead of him don't score too well.
That's right.
In these in tonight's events. So we'll have to wait and see how it all goes on. But seriously, so far, Alessio Di Capua in good form. We expect more of the same from the Italian tonight.
Yeah, he's got 2 wins under his belt. He's the driver on this platform that has picked up 2 wins so far this season, because there was 1 on each platform coming into this week. Definitely looking strong. But again, it is pretty tight between himself and Nicholas Mateo and Patrick Sipos. Nicholas Mateo on 74 points, is Patrick Sipos on 72. They're really, really close, within striking distance. And I mean, they don't even need DeCapua to have a bad race. They just need to beat him. You know, if they get first and he gets second 2 races in a row, that's it. They're in the lead now. So they don't even require bad luck on the part of the person currently leading the championship. So it's a very different sort of situation that we have here on PC compared to what we saw on PS4 and Xbox.
Yeah, you said it, you put it right as rain there, Justin. One thing I did want to notice, though, was that Josh Idawu in great form. He's found some form we knew that he had, and to make sure of that, I've seen that he has put a exclamation focus in his own point of view tonight, saying that he's turning off his second monitor because he's not looking at his own chat. Probably a wise decision, I think.
Yeah, we did see Limitless, JD Doherty. We saw him, we think, looking at chat yesterday, but that's okay. He wasn't involved in the title fights, and that's sort of like his day job, if we're honest here. So we can give him a pass on that one. But Josh is not allowed to read chat, and you guys better not distract him. So hopefully he keeps that monitor off. He keeps that focus, because he is only in 4th. And for example, Benson Sabikonyi only 8 points behind him and down in 7th. So he really does need to focus.
Yeah, and if you're not unfamiliar with this series so far, of course, the top 6 drivers from this platform and all platforms will be able to get their way into the Pro Draft to prove themselves one last time to some possible F1 esports teams. And with that top 6, you only need to make it into the top 6 to make it to the next stage. But these drivers we've got here, they want to win. And most of them we've spoken to, they all want to win. They don't care if they just make top 6. They want that top spot.
It's certainly going to help as well once they get to the draft. You know, the more acclaim they can have on their CV when they get there is just going to make it that much easier. Now, it's not entirely down to what's on their CV when they get there. There's plenty of opportunities, as you alluded to, for them to prove themselves just before the draft and in various events and stuff like that. And that's what we've seen in years past. A lot of variety to that as well. You know, they do testing to see how they handle media and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of things that they'll be graded on and judged. And I imagine it's quite nerve-wracking for the drivers to go through all of that. But yeah, it's not just entirely based on this. But, you know, you can get yourself a little bit of a leg up on your competition just by having that one more win than everybody else on your platform. It certainly helps your case a little bit, as it were.
Yeah, and looking at the bottom end of that top 6, you've got, as you said, Josh Idawu on 64 points, Atte Kauppinen on 60 points, and then it's Ruben Vallejo on 59. I mean, that's such an intense, packed top 6 there. Really, any one of them could really go and shoot up the order. If they do that, some drivers outside the top 6 may start to lose touch with that eventual top 6 in the first place. But, you know, you've got to be there to score the points, and for some of these drivers, we've already seen how Monza coming up hasn't been the greatest race for our series leaders on all platforms so far. We'll see if that trend continues on PC.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see, because, of course, also our championship leader on the PC platform, Monza, is his home race for Alessio Di Capua. So he is going to be especially interested in picking up a good result there, as all drivers are. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how Josh and Atte Kauppinen have... They're right next to each other in the championship standings, but they got there through totally different ways. For Kauppinen, he's only got 1 podium from the 6 races that he's been in. Idawu's got 1 win and 2 podiums. So he's got a win under his belt and twice as many podiums, and yet he's only 4 points ahead, just purely because Kauppinen has had that consistency, and whereas Idawu has had some problems with hardware and stuff like that. So you end up having 2 drivers that are right next to each other in the championship standings. You would think they would have very similar performances, but no, it's actually very, very different for the 2 of them. And those 2 different personality types are going to appeal to different teams. You know, I touched on this earlier in the week. I said, there's going to be some teams that are looking for like a hot shot and somebody that can, just bring the car home and get those consistent good points. So that's a great example of Idawu and Kauppinen, 2 very different drivers, yet bringing home similar sort of results. And the teams are going to be looking for different roles to fill, essentially. And they're going to be interested in both those types of drivers.
This is why, as well, when you're in challenges, every race you are being watched, even if you think you're not, and even if you're having one of the worst races and everybody's looking in the battle for the lead. No, teams are watching to see how you react to certain scenarios and how you react to a bit of bad luck or a bit of a damaged front wing. Do you give up or do you pit in, go for the fastest lap at the end of the race? That's what they're sort of seeing. That's what the teams are looking for when they're looking at these drivers down at challenges, but even before they get into the pro draft.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, they're especially the ones that have been doing well so far. So if Alessio Di Capua, for example, coming into this leading the championship, 2 wins under his belt, the only person on the PC side with 2 wins so far this season, certainly they're going to be looking to see, especially how he recovers if he has a bad race at Monza or Suzuka. Somebody who's a little bit further down, it maybe won't get as much notice if they're, having a recovery kind of drive. But certainly if you've kind of already established yourself as a podium contender who's having a bad race, then definitely that's certainly going to be drawing some eyes to you. And the teams will make decisions based on that sort of thing. We've seen some real shockers, actually, at drafts gone by. We've seen some surprising drivers get passed up and some surprising drivers get picked up. Everybody kind of has their own internal ranking system of where they think the drivers are relatively. Certainly the drivers have their own sort of internal ranking system of where they think they are relative to everybody else. And I'm sure there was some huge upsets for those drivers. They're thinking, what, really? That person got picked before me? Come on, man, I'm definitely faster than that guy. But, it's not all down to raw pace. And as I mentioned before, different teams are looking to fill different roles.
Absolutely, and it sounds like we're ready to go to Monza to carry out some qualifying and see the excitement on Justin's face. I'm excited too. We hope you're excited as well for the last race of this month for F1 Esports Series Challengers. Don't forget as well, this isn't the end of the road. We've still got one more event next month where we will be heading to America and to Abu Dhabi to finally find out who will be making that top 6. But I mean, Monza, the Temple of Speed. They don't call it that for nothing, eh, Justin?
It's a fantastic circuit. Lots of overtaking locations. Just look at it. Absolutely beautiful. There's only 11 corners on it, if I remember correctly. It's nearly a single-digit number. Hardly any elevation change. You can see that from the track map. Very, very little elevation change, but there is a tiny little bit. But so fast. So good.
So fast, so good. Temple of Speed is the absolute reason why we call it that. And of course, there you can see the Rettifilio chicane. So far this week, both platforms that we've seen, PS4 and Xbox, have relatively behaved themselves on lap 1 going into the Rettifilio chicane. Let's hope we get 3 for 3. Let's hope we get lap 1 going into the Rettifilio chicane. Everybody comes out squeaky clean. It seems to be the Roger chicane that caught out a couple of PS4 drivers, that's for sure. But anyway, we'll get onto that later on. We're about to see the PC drivers make their way out onto the track and start this qualifying session. And if you are unfamiliar with the series, don't forget the first race we have short qualifying, so that's 18 minutes for these drivers to set the fastest lap time they can. When we head to Suzuka later on tonight, it's one-shot qualifying, so they only have that one opportunity to get that flying lap, to get that perfect lap in. And as we've seen so far on Xbox last night, 5 drivers didn't set a valid lap time. They had their lap time invalidated for track limits. So it's not easy. It's a high-pressure scenario.
Was it Pinecone that we talked to yesterday who told us that one-shot qualifying at Suzuka is actually extremely difficult? I believe it was Pinecone, but yeah, it was great to hear from one of the drivers yesterday. Essentially just, confirming what we thought was the case, and we kind of figured that just from the number of times that got invalidated at the end of the session. As you mentioned, nearly half a dozen of them on the Xbox side yesterday. So very, very interesting, but it rewards a different type of driver. And again, we're looking for sort of a complete package sort of thing. Nobody's perfect. No driver in the world is absolutely perfect. Some drivers get very, very close, but nobody's perfect. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And it's great to see that variety in this 2021 F1 Esports Challengers season.
What is this phrase? It's Po Body's Nerfect, is that right?
I love that.
We'll go with that one. Di Capua then, the series leader, making our way now down towards the Rettifilio chicane, braking hard down to second gear, get the car turned in. He goes up to third to reduce the wheel spin on the exit. Now we're going through the Curva Grande, sticking close to the right-hand side, get the shortest run possible in towards Curva Grande. Slight banking through this right-hander here, but you're flat out anyway. Now heading up towards the Roger chicane, braking about 70 metres before the corner. Really let letting the car feed its way through. Don't want to take too much of those sleeping policeman curbs. In towards the first Roger, down to 5th, and then quickly up to 6th to reduce that wheel spin on exit. Then in towards the second Lesmo, down to 5th once again. A little bit twitchy on the exit there, but he gathered it out really well there. Now in towards the curve of Del Serralio as we head underneath the old banking, up into 8th gear, and you can see 211 to 12 miles per hour, 213 we hit just before the braking zone, in towards Ascari, then keeping that car nice and level all the way through Ascari there. That really does test the setup that you've got on your car. Making our way now up towards Parabolica, the final corner, the 11th corner here at Monza, braking just after that 50-meter board, down to 5th gear, and then up to 6th gear. You'll see the drivers get a little bit of a touch on that AstroTurf on the left, then move to the right-hand side to get the shortest run possible towards the line. Wow. 17.6 from De Capua as the first lap time of the qualifying session.
Really nice lap. Really nice commentary as well too. I really enjoyed that one actually. That was spot on. Oops, totally. De Capua is probably not going to be thrilled about us staying on board for that part of the lap, but we switch over to Josh Idawu in the Mercedes coming down towards the final corner of Parabolica. Obviously, a very early apex you take at Parabolica because, of course, it opens up. It's an increasing radius corner. It gets wider towards the exit. But, yeah, you correctly pointed out that the drivers actually just stay to the right-hand side to shorten the run. Just the amount of aerodynamics, you would assume. And he goes quickest of all, actually, displacing Capello by more than 1/10 of a second, actually. 0.125, if my maths are correct on that one. So a very nice lap time from Josh Idawu. I believe he didn't win. He was in that race where we had the surprising one stop on the zero stop on the intermediates a season or two ago, where he did not win that race. Actually, I remember correct. I'm pretty sure about that, but I remember he did put in a good performance. And of course, the PC guys means more webcams. We got to see some webcams yesterday from the Xbox guys, which was fantastic. Got to see Chandler Saita, got to see TRO Limitless. Was there a third one? I can't remember, but yeah, it's always nice with the PC guys. You get to really see them driving. Jan Fehler with the extremely interesting lighting going on. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, just the green lighting there. Maybe it helps with his focus there. It's low down in the cockpit as well.
You can see the shift lights glowing on the back of his steering wheel.
He's got it all, hasn't he? He's got the immersion fully down, and now he's making his way in towards the Roger chicane, full focused in through there. A little bit of a kiss on the gravel on the exit there. Shouldn't cost him too much time as we make our way through the first Lesmo. Now making our way towards the second. Bit of curb on the exit as well. You can take a little bit of curb there to just open up the exit of the corner. Same again for the second Lesmo, on towards the DRS straight through the curve of Del Serralio, and once again underneath the old banking. Bit of time for waiting here, but now you've got to pick out your braking spot on the right hand side, braking about 70 meters before the corner here, making our way through Ascari again. Car seems to be a little bit twitchy through there, but it seems like the drivers are comfortable with that at the moment as we make our way now up towards Parabolica, the final corner. Again, looking at the left hand side, taking a glance at where your braking spot is, just past that 50-meter board. Again, now trying to turn in, then open up the steering slightly, try and carry as much speed through the corner you can, over to the right hand side, shortest run to the line, and that is an invalid lap then from Jan Fehler, so he will stay without a lap time.
It would have been good enough for fourth. It was a 17.858, if I'm correct. I don't know where he invalidated his lap time on that one, but yeah, it would have been good enough for fourth quickest, just ahead of Benza Sabaconi and behind the other Renault of Patrick Sipos. So yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to get a banker in, which is not ideal, but he's got plenty of time left, 11 and a half minutes still to go in this qualifying session. Norbert Jakob in the AlphaTauri, just starting his lap, it would seem, but only 7 times on the board, interestingly. Again, I will take this opportunity just to point out the minor differences from one platform to another is not necessarily because of the drivers. It could be. We can only speculate on that sort of thing. Maybe it is a case of one platform being slightly quicker than the others this season. Who knows? We don't find out until everybody gets onto the same platform on the Pro Series. But again, inevitably, we always find out there is essentially zero difference between the drivers from the various platforms. We've had very successful drivers from all the different platforms, PC, Xbox, and PS4. So yeah, I am surprised, though, by the lack of times on the board. Tom 97, nope, he's just starting a lap as well.
Yeah, he is, and if you missed out on the event last time around, you missed out on a very well, dramatic is the word I would use. Belgian Grand Prix as the car slightly over-rotates on the rear end going through the first part of the Rettifilio chicane, but Tom looks like he's got that all under control right now, going through the right-hander of the Curva Grande. And he pitted quite well. He actually pitted later than everybody else and got his first points of the series. Bear in mind that the last 2 rounds were his first 2 rounds of Challengers entirely.
Yeah, exactly right. Tom doing a fantastic job, and again, he's a content creator and YouTuber. I mean, this is not his full-time gig. He's not one of those guys that has hundreds and hundreds of hours put into practicing for F1 Esports and stuff like that. He plays other games and does other things, and is just kind of all over the place. So I even spoke to him privately not that long ago and told him between this event and the last event, and I told him he should be immensely proud of making it to this level, just purely because he's got other stuff going on. This is not his main thing, and to get this far is massively impressive, and to have the race that he did in Belgium especially is a real point of pride, I would imagine, for him. And look at that, 5th quickest, puts in a 1:17.8, a really, really impressive time. I mean, that's faster than Ben Sabaconi, who is on that bubble for top 6. So that's incredible stuff from Tom 97.
No hands on the run up towards Parabolica, by the way. Absolutely 0 hand from Tom on the wheel there. So there we go. But anyway, he gets 5th fastest with that 17.8, make that 6th fastest as there's Patrick who's gone up the leaderboard, 17.8. Ruben Vallejo up the leaderboard as well with a 17.5, puts himself now in 3rd place and on the 2nd row of the grid. But De Capua has got that top spot back for now at his home Grand Prix. 1:17.478 puts him at the top of the table. There is Patrick Sipos then making his way now through the Lesmos, through the first Lesmo, then towards the second. You see there, so a lot of twitchy, nervous cars out there at Monza, but that's a sure sign, Justin, that there's probably no rain on the horizon. We saw in Xbox yesterday drivers running wet setup, which normally means they're running a little bit more aero on the cars. More aero definitely means more grip through the corners. These cars seem a little bit more twitchy, just sort of implying that there is that less aero than there would be on a wet setup. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a dry race.
Yeah, it's looking that way. I agree with you on that one. It's very similar. Oh, getting a bit of traffic here at Parabolica for Patrick Sipos. I assume that's Sven Noller just ahead of him. Is Sven on a hot lap? Yes, he was. So that's an interesting one. That is actually the biggest incident in qualifying that we have seen all season long, which is really a compliment more than anything else.
I tell you, qualifying at Monza is chaotic. I tell you that right now. Absolutely chaotic there. Well, Nerler was on a lap, but he backed out of it because it's a 22.3. So he was obviously gearing up for another lap. Then along came Patrick Sipos. There's Nicolas Matteo out on his outlap then. 4th fastest so far with a 17.582. Just under 7.5 minutes to go. Josh Idawu takes back provisional pole position, 17.434. Those two, Idawu and De Capua, are going to be battling hammer and tong for that provisional pole position, and they're chipping away at their times, 100th by 100th, 10th by 10th.
I'm not too surprised to see Ruben Vallejo in 3rd position as well, and one of the few drivers kind of within striking distance. He's within 1/10 of Idawu's time, actually. So, and I'm not too surprised. Ruben Vallejo, I think, has potentially been the most unlucky driver throughout this entire 2021 F1 Esports Challengers. It's just really been unfortunate, some of the results that he's had, and through no real fault of his own. So he's definitely one of the guys that if I were in that battle for the top 6, I would definitely be concerned. So the likes of De Capua, Matteo, Sipos, they have a pretty good gap there. I imagine they're feeling pretty comfortable, but Idawu, Kaupinen, Benza Sabaconi, these guys really have to be worried about Ruben Vallejo, because I think his standing in the championship does not accurately reflect his speed.
You saw Nicolas Matteo there going through Parabolica, and then towards the start-finish line, he stayed to the left-hand side, and he's trying to build the speed so that he can take that down the start-finish straight rather than take a shorter run to the line. So let's see how that has an effect on his lap time as we make our way now towards the Roger chicane. Really tricky corner, this one. It looks easy, but there you can see a little bit of a dip of the wheels in the gravel there. That will cost him at least a 10th. He's backed out of the lap entirely there, so absolutely not happy with that. It's a corner, the Roger chicane, that looks easy, but I tell you what, these drivers will have put hours, hundreds of hours into those chicanes alone just to make sure they can get the absolute optimal line without clipping the sleeping policeman.
Yeah, it's really difficult, as you said, and it's especially difficult to overtake there, and that is the most likely overtaking location is into that second chicane, because if you overtake it at the first chicane, then you're just going to be a sitting duck through Curva Grande and down towards the second chicane. It's sort of like overtaking into the final corner at Malaysia. You know, you just don't do it because you're going to be coming under attack one corner later. So, yeah, but it's so difficult to go side by side there. We saw that incident earlier this week with oh gosh, I can't remember who it was now, but we saw that incident at that second chicane. It involved a number of cars actually that got caught up in that one. So it's just so tight, and as you mentioned, the curbing as well is very unforgiving.
Yeah, it was Nicholas Klasani.
That's right.
Down the inside, he had a spin at the Rogers chicane, and it caused all sorts of mayhem on Tuesday night. Josh Idawu, meanwhile, now starts a new flying lap. De Campo out there somewhere on a flying lap as well, with just over 4 minutes 40 seconds to go. Idawu still on top of the table right now, as he now makes his way onto a new flying lap. We're just waiting now for Jake Wills to post a lap time on the board. Other than that, everyone has set a pretty representative lap time so far. Jan Fehler, 18.2. We know he's got more pace than that, so too Ika Baena. I really do think all of these drivers are capable of a 1:17 at the very least, so we'll have to wait and see if they can achieve that time as the session ticks down. Here's De Capua then making his way towards Parabolica, and then you can see a Renault in the distance there, just using a little bit of that drag and a little bit of that toe that maybe De Capua was bringing off, but De Capua, he comes into the pit lane. Forget I ever said anything then, don't worry, he was never on a lap. We all knew that from the very start. But we're riding aboard now with Pablo Hoglar as he now makes his way up towards Ascari here, making our way through. He's not on the lap, I don't think. So we'll now make his way up towards Parabolica. We'll find out very soon. He is short shifting. But,
yeah, short shifting eighth is usually a sign that they're not pushing hard.
it's a more obvious sign, isn't it, that he's not on a flying lap. But now he makes his way around Parabolica. He does have that hot lap mode engaged as we make our way now on towards the pit lane, and he will come in. So he's 11th fastest right now, 17.9, and that's just outside of the top 10. We've been speaking to a couple of drivers about how that 11th place is not the end of the world going into the race.
Yeah, we've heard from drivers. They've said that they would definitely prefer 11th over 10th, certainly. No surprise there, because, yeah, the contra strategy can be really, really useful here. Interesting, Benza Sabakonye is going to stay out, and he's going to go third quickest, becomes the third driver to dip into the 117.4s with that lap time, but that's going to be it for him. I don't think he's got enough time to get back to the pits, fit a new set of tires, and get back out there to start another lap. If he does, it's like right on the edge. He might have to skip out on a couple of chicanes if he wants to try and make that work, which they can do, especially if there's 90% of the cars are in the pits as they are right now. So certainly, maybe he'll try to make that happen. But oh man, it is extremely tight. It was only 0.8 of a second for a little while there from 1st to 14th. So very, very tight throughout the field, and I would not necessarily say that Idawu is going to have this in the bag. I think he's going to come under a little pressure, but he is definitely one of the favorites, you have to say.
Well, I have to say that he's lowered the bar yet again with a 17.292. So that's a message, if anything, to De Capua there. We should see them re-emerge from the pit lane very, very soon to really have a showdown between the three of them here. Benza Sabakonye is making his way back towards the pit lane, so I doubt we're going to see him. It's going to be a very, very tight turnaround for himself then. But, we've seen stranger things happen. Let's see that as he makes his way in towards the pits then to
might do it.
For him. It's going to be tight, isn't it? It's going to be very, very tight. He's got to be very quick on the controls once he gets back to the pits then to get back out. But there you can see a lot of drivers making their way now out onto the track, ready for their final lap in qualifying. De Capua is out there as well. We're watching Sven Nurlo as he makes his way now in through the Roger chicane. And Sven, he's been doing a pretty decent job all season long. I mean, he hasn't had the rub of the results the way he wanted. Currently 11th place in the standings, 22 points. But, it has been a tough season. But for himself, he'll be thinking, well, I have got points. Maybe for a few more might have been better. But at the end of the day, he's got more points and challenges than I ever will.
Exactly right. Yeah, I mean, I would be thrilled about even just making it here. I'd just be honored to be on the track at the same time as these drivers, because yeah, really, really quality stuff. We've heard from We heard from Martin Stefanko at the previous event. He confirmed for us that it is the fastest and most competitive grid of drivers that we have ever had for F1 Esports Challengers. And all of them should, even if you're only filling in for one race, or one event, you should be absolutely proud of yourself for making it this far.
Yeah, because of course, this is all based on paces, so you've got to be fast enough to make the grid in the first place. For the last couple of seconds now for qualifying, and there is De Capua on a flying lap. The Italian, the series leader so far, making his way through the Curva Grande and then onwards then towards the Roger chicane. He's only got one more chance to try and grab back provisional pole position as we make our way now in towards the Roger chicane. Here's Nicolas Matteo then on an outlap as he now makes his way up towards Parabolica. He's got someone behind him. I think that is Josh Idawu right behind him then. So I think Josh here might have a little bit of tow down towards the Rettifilio chicane, but he might have a lot of drag going through the corners from Nicolas Matteo. We're about to find out, though, if this is going to aid Idawu or if it's going to hinder him as they both now make their way down towards the Rettifilio chicane. There's a little bit of a heavy braking zone there, that's for sure, in towards the Rettifilio. But Josh Idawu out there somewhere then. Well, in fact, there he is. I meant of course, De Capua. Patrick Sipos has set the second fastest time then, 17.4, calls it a day. Josh Idawu, well, he's retired straight away, so he's instantly not happy about his lap. And De Capua goes quickest then, 17.264. Puts him now on provisional pole position. And can anybody beat that? Well, going by the, how everybody's been going through this session, it's really been De Capua versus Idawu for that pole position, but we have seen surprises and shocks before. Here's Nicolas Matteo using that slipstream of Jan Fehler, making our way now in towards Ascari, just trying to attack this maximum attack through the left as we now make our way on towards Parabolica for the final time for Nicolas Matteo in this qualifying session, currently 6th fastest on a 1:17.525. Can he get his way up the order? He'll only have to find less than a tenth of a second and he'll move up a whole heap of positions. Here he comes then towards the line. Can he improve on his lap time? Yes, he can. 17.334 puts him 3rd fastest in the session. Jan Fehler we saw slowly make his way on towards Ascari, so I can safely say that that's the end of qualifying. It's Alessio De Capua on pole position in front of his home fans for the Italian Grand Prix.
Ruben Vallejo not improving on his final run. I don't know what happened to the Red Bull driver, but Ruben Vallejo's second run of a 1:17.530 ended up being his fastest. Atte Kalpinen jumping up into the top 5. So doing what needs to be done to make sure he's in that. I mean, again, he's coming into this in 5th position. So Kalpinen, with that 5th place qualifying, he's got to be happy about that, I would think.
Well, we'll run through these qualifying standings for you. It's Alessio De Capua on pole position. Josh Idawu in 2nd place. Less than 0.03 of a second separates our top 2 drivers. Nicolas Matteo then in 3rd place, and then less than a tenth of a second covers our top 3. It's Patrick Sipos in 4th place. Atte Kalpinen in 5th. Benta Sabo Konyi in 6th. Ruben Vallejo in 7th. Jan Fehler in 8th. Sven Nurler in 9th. And Norbert Jakob rounds off the top 10. It's Ika Baena in 11th. Pablo Hoglar in 12th. Tom 97 in 13th. Julian Naumann in 14th place, and Jake Wills didn't set a lap time on the board. He will start from the back of the grid. And let's see if my sort of prediction is true. Are we going to have a dry race? There were some twitchy setups up there, which normally means low drag. And, well, you can see the sun beaming down on the circuit here.
Yep, it is completely dry, bone dry conditions for the race today. So the second dry race that we'll have at Monza this week. So really looking forward to this one. I do wonder if it's going to be similar because, again, the first race that we had on PS4, I was really surprised about how that all panned out. It was sort of like a waiting game for a lot of the drivers. They were just kind of hanging back, waiting for the right moment to strike. Having a quick look at the weather, and yep, it looks like it's going to be an absolutely beautiful day here in Italy. Just no chance for rain whatsoever. It's going to look like this for the entire 13 laps.
So without further ado, then, we better get on with it, Justin. We've got the Italian Grand Prix for our PC Challengers coming up for you. 13 laps around Monza. Let's get those cars to the grid and let's go racing, shall we? We'll wait now for those lights to count up to signal the start of the Italian Grand Prix. It is 5 red lights. And we're racing in Monza. What are the starts like? Well, Atta Kalpanen's got himself a drive-through penalty already. How about the rest of them? As we now make our way now down towards the Rettifilo chicane. De Capua gets a really good start, then making our way now in towards the first chicane, but he gets it all wrong there. Josh Idawu takes the lead of this race then. And how did that start from Atta Kalpanen shape up the field? Well, it's allowed Josh Idawu to find his way through. De Capua down to third. Nicholas Matteo in fourth. Patrick Sipos and Benson Sabo Conyi are going side by side through the Curva Grande. Up they go now towards the Roger chicane, but they all tuck back in single file then for the Roger chicane. So Atta Kalpanen will get himself a drive-through penalty that he'll have to serve within the next 3 laps. So that's going to put him all the way down the order, and any chance of a good result has been put in serious jeopardy. Benson Sabo Conyi, we saw him go side by side with Patrick Sipos going through Curva Grande. So Sabo Conyi really wants that position as we make our way now down towards the old banking and then up as we go towards Ascari. Then through we go. Lots of dirty air being thrown up in your face here. Just got to make sure you've got race load of fuel on board, plus you've got some dirty air as well. You're going to have a bit less grip than you'd ideally like. Well, Atta Kalpanen is in the lead of this race. What with that drive-through penalty next to his name is Josh Idawu in second place, De Capua in third, Nicholas Matteo in fourth place, with Patrick Stipos in fifth and Sabo Conyi in sixth.
Sven Noller coming under serious attack from Norbert Jakob there. Oh, here we go. Battle for what is essentially the lead. Alessio De Capua is going to find the inside line on the run down towards the first chicane, and it looks like a nice, easy overtake. I don't think Josh was really interested in fighting that one. Yeah, didn't defend the inside line and may even have just done a little bit of fuel saving as well. So he might be perfectly happy to stay behind. I'm a little bit surprised about Kalpanen staying out. It's an interesting one. But just a reminder for viewers at home, in case there's somebody new joining in or anything like that, the two Haas's are not teammates in any way whatsoever.
Oh, we've got Norbert Jakob there making a move then. He's just about held on actually from Iker Baena, who's got himself up into the top 10. Meanwhile, Julian Naumann, who had lots of trouble in qualifying, staying in the session, has now got himself back in. He's currently running in 12th place and putting Sven Nurle under a whole heap of pressure then. Tom 97, Pablo Hoglar and Jake Wills all really scrapping here for this last point. They're all bunched together at the moment, but what they're allowing is for Jan Fehler to really get away from them all, and it really does separate them from the rest of the field as we now make our way on through Ascari and then on towards Parabolica once again, as once again we say Kalpanen is in the lead of the race, but he won't be for too much longer. He's probably going to, there's two strategies to a drive-through penalty at the start of the race. You either take it on the very first lap or you leave it until the very last moment. So he'll have to pit next lap in order to serve that drive-through penalty. DRS is now online then, but it won't be available to use until we get to the Curva del Seraglio on this lap, because the detection point for the long straight here is all the way before the Parabolica. There's Sven Nurle going up the inside of Iker Baena. Remember, that's without DRS. So Nurle now back up into the points. Baena is invited to have another go then as we make our way through the Curva Grande for the third time. Atta Kalpanen still in the lead. De Capua second, Josh Idawu in third place. We're watching Iker Baena, of course, make his way through in towards the Roger chicane, hunting down Nurle ahead for that final point.
Yeah, Sven Noller on the soft compounded tire, so he would have been able to break that little bit later into turn one compared to Iker Baena. Worth pointing out, by the way, that now everybody outside the top 10 is the medium runners. So we saw this previously in the week. Oh, Ruben Vallejo getting very close to the pack of Patrick Sipos, opting not to go for any sort of side-by-side action. No surprise through there, but look at that, a decent-sized gap starting to form between Patrick and the other Renault of Benson Sabaconia up ahead, so he's definitely going to be under attack. I wonder if he's got any sort of damage, actually, with the way that Ruben Vallejo is just absolutely harassing him. He's got Jan Fehler right behind him as well, too, so I wonder, he's going to pull into the pits. It wouldn't surprise me if Sipos has some kind of damage. Atta Kalpanen is into the pits for his drive-through as well. The rest of the field continues on.
Absolutely. So Kalpanen, he won't be able to change his tyres whatsoever. He'll have to drive straight down the pit. He won't be able to service his car. So at some point, he's going to have to pit again to get some new tyres, some fresh tyres on the car to make his mandatory stop. So really, it's not going to be a very good time for Kalpanen here. What he'll probably end up doing is try and go for the fastest lap towards the end of the race. As long as he stays in it, though, he's still got a chance of points. It's only really 5 positions away from the back of the grid at this point. Anything can happen over these really quick fire races. We've already seen that here on 2 platforms earlier this week.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, these 13 laps, especially because it's Monza, just absolutely fly by. So not really a whole lot of time. There we go. You can see the different tire compounds on the left-hand side now. Again, outside of Ate Kauppinen down in 14th position, you've got all of the soft runners up at the front. In the top 8. And actually the gap is smaller though compared to the PS4 race, because that was the other dry race that we had at Monza earlier this week, was on the PS4 platform on Tuesday. And we did see a really, really big gap start to form between the soft runners and the medium runners. It's not as big this week though, and for this race, for this platform. And I do wonder if that is going to play a role. Oh, 2 more drivers into the pits, Matteo and Vallejo.
Yep, they're both in to put on a new set of tyres, then to get themselves to the end of the race. Meanwhile, then we're riding on board with Josh Idawu as he tries to close in on Alessio Di Capua. And these 2 race leaders have really built up a gap to the car behind. Ventusabo Cogni's 2 seconds back now, what with all the drivers pitting in behind them. And actually, Ate Kauppinen has come straight back into the pit to put on a new set of medium tyres, I assume that will be, to get himself now to the end of the race. So it looks like then Patrick Sipos will jump him, but now Kauppinen can go to the end of the race without pitting again, so no chance really of that fastest lap. He'll have old worn medium tyres towards the end of the race. It's difficult to get a fastest lap, but not impossible.
Idawu is losing touch with Di Capua through this second sector here. The gap was up to 0.7 of a second. You can see he's done a pretty good job with managing his ERS. You can see that on the steering wheel. Looking a little bit further back, though, this is the battle for 7th position. Julian under attack from Iker Baena, who's got that penalty that he's carrying. He's followed in very close succession by Tom 97, who has worked his way up into the top 10. Of the medium runners, Tom 97 currently running 3rd, essentially. So Julian is the first of the medium runners, as you can see from the graphic on the left-hand side.
Absolutely. So we see then De Capua, Seba Konya, Norbert Jakob, Sven Nurler also
lots of pits.
The pit lots of pits. So that's a very, very busy pit lane here. So Josh Idawu here is going to go for a little bit of an overcut, avoid all of that carnage in the pit lane there, just focus on his own driving and see what happens out there. Jan Phelan, that means he's up into 2nd place, Iker Baena in 3rd, Pablo Hoglar in 4th, but they've all yet to stop in this race. There's De Capua leaving the pit lane, and more importantly, he rejoins ahead of Nicolas Mateus, who's got no traffic ahead of him. He can now push and get just these qualifying lap times all the way through. There is Matteo, who's in 6th place then. I believe he's already made his stop, and he's now 6/10 behind Alessio Di Capua, our series leader, as we approach the halfway mark in this race.
Very interested to see what kind of tire life he's got, Josh Idawu, and what kind of pace he's got, as Benta Sabaconi, I believe that was him making an overtake on Ruben Vallejo, the 2 of them squabbling coming into the 2nd chicane. And through the Lesmos, I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised with Ruben Vallejo. I really thought he was going to have a stronger performance here today. It could be one of those cases where it's just not a track that he goes well at. But yeah, he's down in 8th position as it stands right now. But we still have some drivers yet to pit. A lot of medium runners still have yet to pit. In fact, I think all of the medium runners still yet to pit. So we'll see where everybody comes out. We're at about half the distance now for this race.
Idawu is in the pit lane then, so this is going to be De Capua's call to try and get himself up the order now. How are they going to go as we make our way down the start-finish straight? You can see Matteo's actually closing in on De Capua. He'll have some DRS as well. Keep one eye on that pit lane exit. There is Idawu leaving the pit lane now. We're going to be running side by side on entry at the very least. The 2 rivals here trying to go side by side into the first corner. De Capua leaves the space then, but now tries to take the inside line for the second part of the Retafidio chicane. Nicolas Matteo, meanwhile, trying to find a move past as well. He didn't quite get the great exit that Josh Idawu got then. And now, so we're seeing a top 3 battle here. Nicolas Matteo, his strategy has brought him straight into this battle.
Right up to the back of that Mercedes. Extreme confidence. You have to have confidence in your car and your abilities, and the car ahead of you as well too, as Matteo just really follows through in that second chicane. But incredible to see the way that Idawu just filtered into this battle, just slotted right in between De Capua and Matteo. He even left a little bit of a gap through the second part of the chicane, just in case if Matteo was going to be there. And then Matteo, it looked like he had that great exit at first, but then possibly Idawu just turning up the wick, turning up that ERS deployment a little bit to make sure he maintained that second place position. And I don't know, maybe we're going to end up seeing the same sort of situation that we saw on the PS4 platform earlier this week, where now Idawu is going to sit back, he's going to harvest that ERS, he's going to make sure he's in the best possible position to make the overtake on lap 13, and then he's going to take the win essentially right at the last moment And we'll see if that works out for him, or if DeCapua is, because of course, these guys would have seen that happen and play out on the PS4 platform earlier this week. So these guys are going to know that's what everyone is planning.
We've got 6 laps to decide who will become the winner of the Italian Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Tom97 has set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:19, puts him now on that pedestal for fastest lap of the race, as we now follow the top 3 all the way through Curva Grande and now on towards the Roger chicane. Meanwhile, behind them, Benza Sabo-Konyi has got his hands full, holding on to 4th place. He's got Jan Fehler and Ruben Vallejo for company then for that 4th place in the race. Sven Nurler picks up a 3-second time penalty. He joins, I believe, Iker Baena and Jake Wills on those 3-second penalties front. They'll be applied at the end of the race. Meanwhile then, Nicholas Matteo still got a bit of DRS on Josh Ida. With Josh Ida, who again, as you were probably saying, he's probably seen, or probably sort of got that strategy in his head to leave the overtake as late as he possibly can. It gives him the perfect time to harvest that ERS and use it when he really wants to.
I can confirm, by the way, all 3 drivers with penalties on the left-hand side is 3 seconds for all of them. This is Jake Wills on Patrick Sipos. This was at the start of lap 7. Oh, gosh, and this was when a lot of cars were coming out of the pits as well, too. Is he going to get boxed in? He gets very, very close to the back of that Red Bull. Is he going to make contact? No. He ends up making the overtake with the traffic coming out of the pit lane. Very well judged, actually, from Jake there to take that position. It's not even for points. And, of course, he's got a penalty of his own. But, yeah, again, all 3 cars that you see with penalties, Noller, Jake, Baena, all 3 of them, it's 3 seconds.
See, that's another reason why I knew I couldn't be in challenges, because at that moment there, I would have had my eyes firmly shut and just hoped that everything will be okay. But everyone made it through there, so credit to all of the drivers there. The ones pitting out and the ones already on track. They did a superb job there. Tom97 up into 9th place then, as he continues to try and find a climb up the leaderboard then in only his 3rd race here in Challengers. Meanwhile then, DeCapua still leads the way with Josh Ida in 2nd place. Nicholas Matteo is still in 3rd, but Sabo-Konyi has really closed in on these drivers now. In fact, he's now within DRS range as we now make our way up in towards Ascari for the 9th time here at the Italian Grand Prix. Now, is that a case of Benza Sabo-Konyi has found some pace, or are the top 3 costing each other time?
Could be, yeah. Because as you mentioned, he got within that 1 second on the rundown towards Ascari. So I'm sort of surprised about that. I really thought that the top 3 were sort of gone. Worth keeping in mind, by the way, as we come to the end of lap 9, so it's 4 laps to go in this race. Julian in 8th. And Tom97 behind him as well, but there's a 1.5 second gap between them. But Julian in 8th, there we go, is on the soft tires. Oh, Jan Fehler and Benza Sabo-Konyi going side by side. Oh, some more battling going on the rundown towards turn 1. That's Iker Baena getting involved in a battle with Jake and Pablo Hoglar as well. So it's all kicking off here towards the latter stages. But yeah, Julian and Tom97 in the top 10, not far off that train on the softs too.
Pablo Hoglar really battled his way through there. He's got himself up into 11th place as Baena now goes down to 12th with 4 laps to go. 3 and a bit if you're picky here at the Italian Grand Prix in F1 Esports Challengers. Yeah, there's so many battles out there. We're really not sure where on earth to look. There's so much action happening in this PC side of things. But we've got 3 and a bit laps to go if you are picky. DeCapua leads the way as well. That's a big fishtail there from one of the cars going through in towards the the second Lesmo then. But we've got Nicholas Matteo still staying in touch with our race leaders, and look at this, 1st down to 6th, all within DRS of each other. The only one out of that top 6 that doesn't have DRS is our race leader in Alessio DeCapua. Soon we'll be seeing more and more cars join onto the back of this in his rear view mirrors as he crosses the line to start lap 11. We've got 3 to go here at Italy. I mean, it could be anybody's race really, couldn't it?
I would love to know what is going on in the minds of all of these drivers, because I have to imagine it's essentially like a game of chess. They're trying to think, if they do this, I'm going to do this. If I do this and they respond like this, then I need to be prepared to do this. And it's just working out all of those variables and everything like that. And it's really, really difficult. And I tell you what, you said 1st to 6th. It's about to be 1st through 7th. Julian is within DRS range of Ruben Vallejo. This is that move that I mentioned earlier that was going on at the same time while we were watching Pablo Hoglar and Iker Baena going on in the background. That was Jan Fehler with a nice DRS overtake, a very straightforward overtake into that first chicane on Benza Sabo-Konyi, moving himself up into 4th position, just outside of the podium paying positions. Jan Fehler, of course, one of the most experienced veterans in Challengers this season. So it's great to see him putting on a fantastic performance. He's also been sort of, not quite in that top 6, that battle for that top 6. So I imagine this is going to be a big boost for him, and more along the lines, the kind of result that he's been hoping for this entire season, I would expect.
De Capua leading the way. He's 3 tenths ahead of Josh Idawu, and you can see first down to 6th just within DRS zones of each other. So hold on to your hats for this one as we head towards the penultimate lap of this Italian Grand Prix here in F1 Esports Challenge. You can see there De Capua trying to break the slipstream to Josh Idawu. Idawu looking for an attack here down towards the Retafido chicane, but De Capua just about holds on to the lead of the race. Then Ruben Vallejo looks like he's got to move on. Benta Sabaconia, you just saw a glimpse of him up the inside of the second part of the Retafido chicane, and he does get the move done. Moves now up into 5th place. Sabaconia falls to 6th, and he's now into the clutches of Julian Naumann. Less than 2 tenths separates those two cars in the battle for 6th place. Meanwhile, then you can see the top 3 closer than ever before now as we make our way on towards the Lesmos here, through the first Lesmo, through the second. Got to be careful about your tyre wear through here. Push it a little bit too hard with these tyres and you could find yourself onto the gravel, especially at the second Lesmo, as we make our way on towards the Curva del Seraglio for the penultimate time underneath the old banking, and onwards once again towards Ascari. De Capua at his home Grand Prix wants to take another win here in F1 Esports Challengers, and he'll want to get another win on the board for sure, and to get it in this way would be a fantastic achievement. It would be his 3rd race win in Challengers. No other driver on any platform has more if he can hold on to the lead of this race, as we make our way now all the way through in towards Parabolica and towards the start finish straight once again to start the final lap here. If there's going to be an attack, it's going to be now. De Capua instantly to the right hand side to break the slipstream of Josh Idawu, making our way on towards the Retafido chicane. Is there a way through? No, De Capua makes sure there isn't. In towards that Retafido chicane for the final time. Make sure you get the traction absolutely spot on here. Baena and Hoglar battling for position. This is for 11th place in towards the Retafido chicane. Keep it clean there as we make our way through, but there's a big tank slapper from Iker Baena there as he now falls to 13th place. Jake Wills up now into 12th place as we ride now on board with Josh Idawu trying to take away this race win from Alessio De Capua in front of his home crowd, but De Capua is trying to make sure that doesn't happen whatsoever. In towards the second Lesmo we will go. You've got to take your line so perfectly when you're on the attack. Into the DRS zone we go, and onwards towards Ascari for the final time. He's a little bit too far back for this one, and then he's only got to rely on slipstream alone going towards Parabolica. So is this going to be an opportunity for De Capua to just about hold on? Will he feel the need to defend going in towards Parabolica? He certainly plants his car in the middle of the track. Then Idawu trying to use that slipstream, trying to find any way through as we make our way through the final corner. Can De Capua hold on? Can Idawu find a way through? It looks like it's going to be race win number 3 for Alessio De Capua in front of his home fans. What a race then. Not quite enough from Josh Idawu, but he grabs a podium. Nicolas Matteo rounds off our podium here at Monza. Jan Feder in 4th, Ruben Vallejo in 5th place with Benza Sabo-Conyi in 6th, Julian Naumann in 8th, Norbert Jakob in 8th place, Tom 97 in 9th, and that wraps up that race really, really nicely. Race win number 3 for Alessio De Capua. No other driver in Challengers has more wins than the Italian here. What a drive that was.
And he got the home victory, as you pointed out as well, which is he's the only Italian to pick up the win at Monza this week. So I imagine he's absolutely thrilled about that. He looked so strong under the brakes into turn 1. He had enough distance on Idawu into turn 1 onto the brakes each time that he could move back onto the racing line. And I think that made all the difference. The fact that he just could be late enough onto the brakes to take the racing line through that chicane. What a performance.
What a performance indeed. And here are your official, unofficial results then for the Italian Grand Prix. It's Alessio De Capua taking his 3rd race win from pole position, no less, to take that win in the Italian Grand Prix. Josh Idawu in 2nd place with Nicolas Matteo in 3rd. Jan Fehler in 4th with Ruben Vallejo in 5th place. Benza Sabo-Conyi in 6th. Julian Naumann 7th. Norbert Jakob in 8th. Tom 97 in 9th. And the fastest lap gets himself a bonus point for his troubles as well. Pablo Hoglar rounding off at the top 10. It's Sven Nurler in 11th place. Patrick Sipos in 12th. Jake Wills in 13th place with Iker Baena rounding off the top 14 there. A couple of penalties applied to the drivers there. And Atta Kauppinen, it never really got got going for him, jumped the start, had to take the drive-through penalty, and found himself at the back of the grid. Very hard to fight back from then on. But what a great race we had, Justin. Absolutely fantastic.
Really enjoyed that one. A lot of fun, and very different from the 2 races that we had earlier this week. Monza, once again, throwing up some surprises, and really didn't expect De Capua to hang on to that. I really thought that it was a case of being in second on the final lap was going to be beneficial. And I think that's what Idawu thought as well, too. I think he was thinking, oh, I'm exactly where I need to be. But yeah, it turns out De Capua, he was on top of it all along.
He was indeed, and Josh Idawu gave him a run for his money there towards the final and closing stages of this Grand Prix, but De Capua just about did enough to stay ahead. What about Nicolas Matteo then? 3rd place for him. That strategy he ran, just get him up into that podium spot and with a chance, a sniff at a race win.
Yeah, 4th podium in 7 races is exactly why he's come into this in such a strong position. And I'm going to say probably he's looking really good to solidify himself for that top 6 with this kind of points haul. I would have to look exactly. He came in at 74. It's going to be close, but I think he can feel pretty good about his chances going into the final 3 races of the season. One more race still to go today. Final race of this week as well is going to be coming up at Suzuka in just a little bit here. So make sure you guys stick around for that. It's not going to be too much long before we head into that one-shot qualifying and we find out who is going to be starting from pole position. Because honestly, we just don't know. We heard from Pinecone yesterday that you really got to be cautious on that lap. It's really, really easy to invalidate that lap, which has made things a little bit interesting when it comes to the qualifying positions. It's difficult to overtake, isn't it, at Suzuka?
It is. It's a very tight circuit, lots of high-speed corners, which means it lessens the amount of braking zones there are at Suzuka. So really you're looking at the hairpin at turn 11 and then possibly turns 1 and 2. But you really have to be confident in yourself and the other driver to try and move at turns 1 and 2. Only 1 DRS straight as well. And that is that run down towards turn 1. It's downhill to help you pick up some speed as well. But let's focus first of all on what we've just seen, the Italian Grand Prix. I mean, I think we need to first start with ripping the plaster off. Atte Kalpanen, he had that jump start, had the drive-through penalty. What was a 5th place start, it could have been so much more.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really frustrating. No points for him. And we mentioned earlier that part of the reason that he's in, or that he was in such a strong position heading into this was consistency. And unfortunately, that kind of went out the window today as he got that jump start. And I have to imagine, you know, that is just the worst possible way to start event 4 for a driver, is with a jump start and a drive through, and it just kind of puts you in a funk, I would imagine, for the rest of the day. He's going to be really kicking himself about that one. It comes in again. He was in that top. He was in the top 5, in fact, but in that very close and tight fight for the top 6, and it's got to be difficult and frustrating for him.
Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about a man who finished 10th place in that race. In fact, let's do one better. Let's talk to him. It's Pablo Joglar. Pablo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Pablo, 10th place in that Italian Grand Prix. I mean, talk us through that. That looked like a decent race on your end.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a chaotic race. Probably the best race in terms of faction in the entire Challengers, for me at least. Yeah, I had some incidents. Really, my result could have been better, to be honest, because Julian was in P7 at the end, so he was in front of me in the first stint. So yeah, that was the maximum. Maybe P7, P10 is good, but yeah, as I said, I had some incidents. In the first stint, there was some collision or I don't know what happened between 2 guys, and then I lost a lot of time and a couple of places. So it was unfortunate, but it was well in the end. I did the maximum if I don't count the external incidents, let's say. So yeah, I'm happy with the 10 points, and I haven't scored many points this season. So yeah, I have to be happy.
Absolutely. And just quickly here, I mean, you've gone 7 races in now. Who do you think is your closest rival? Who are you going into a race and thinking, yes, that's the one I want to beat?
I everyone. I mean,
Good answer. I like that.
I want to beat everyone. Obviously, it's very difficult. Here, there are some fantastic drivers, and I think a couple of the drivers in this grid are going to be in the Pro Series in the near future. So yeah, it is always exciting to compete against them. Obviously, some guys like Dogu and Alessi Di Capo and some other guys are very fast and almost impossible to beat, but you never know. You can always take an opportunity of some incident and beat them.
Well, Justin, I'll hand over to you.
How are you feeling going into the one-shot qualifying at Suzuka? Are you nervous about it? We've heard it's quite difficult.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, to be honest, because one shot is always. I've been very good in one shots this season because obviously is that if you fail, you fail, and if you do good, you can take advantage of the drivers that don't do well, because obviously playing one lap is very easy to invalidate. And Suzuka, there's many points that you can cut the corners and invalidate, so it's going to be tricky. I expect some people to invalidate the lap, so I think if I can get a decent lap, to be honest, I haven't tried so much, so if I can get inside the top 10, maybe a P7, will be very good, and more than that will be fantastic. So yeah, the first objective is to complete the lap without invalidating, and obviously without making any mistakes. If the lap is too bad, then better to invalidate, because better to go flat out.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck in the next event coming up at Suzuka.
Thank you. Let's see you.
Thanks.
Well, Pablo there, just giving us a quick interview there. Just before he goes into the Japanese Grand Prix, I always respect those drivers and just find it so, amazing that they sort of come off one race, they have an interview, and then they're just straight into preparing for the next race. If it was me, I'd just go, no, you're waiting until the end of the race, guys, for an interview, obviously. But no, great to hear from Pablo there. 10th place in that Italian Grand Prix. Seemed happy even with the instance he had.
Yeah, I mean, he was starting from outside the top 10, so, not an ideal position to be starting in, but made the most of that alternate strategy, picked up that championship point. He really wasn't far off of the likes of Tom 97 and so on. So it's a case of, if the race had been just a little bit longer, he may have actually done a little bit better. He would have found possibly a couple more positions. But a really good job. And as he said, it's really about just not invalidating your lap time at Suzuka. What I should have also asked him is, where is he going to try to overtake? Because we've seen drivers get really creative with their overtakes at Suzuka. It's not as straightforward as Monza, or indeed any of the other circuits that we've had so far this season. You really got to get creative when it comes to getting past another car at Suzuka. We've seen it doesn't always end well for drivers that are attempting to get creative as well. We've seen some heartbreak already, so I would say it's a pretty good chance we'll see some more heartbreak on the PC side, especially because these guys this week seem even closer. I mean, just really, really tight battles between the PC guys throughout the field. We didn't know where to look.
No, absolutely not. And with the top 6 all getting DRS off of each other, that just shows you how closely packed that pack really is. We saw Benta Savo Conye as well, finishing in a strong point scoring position. Now, bear in mind, he started the event tonight in 7th place, 56 points, 3 points behind Ruben Vallejo, who's in 6th place, and getting that last spot in the top 6. I think the Hungarian did well.
Yeah, he did. He was higher up, though. He was in 4th, if memory serves, a couple of laps before the end. So I imagine he's going to be a little bit frustrated about that one. He's going to be saying, what might have been. I don't know. I don't remember when he pit. It may be just a case that he pit one lap earlier than the cars around him, and that just made him a little bit of a sitting duck in terms of tire wear come the end of the race. But certainly he did drive very well. I think he maximized his result. I don't think he could have done too much better. But yeah, maybe just pitted a little early, or who knows, maybe he just had a small mistake in the pit lane or something like that. But yeah, he's again that main driver that's outside the top 6, or was outside the top 6 heading into this event, that has a chance of getting into it. And I imagine he's going to be very interested to get that going and to make sure he's in the top 6 by the end of event 4 here.
Well, the Ferris wheel and the Casio triangle, that can only mean one thing. We're at Suzuka for the second race of tonight then for F1 Esports Challengers here on PC. Round number 8 coming up for you very, very shortly. We've already heard about some drivers talking about how difficult one-shot qualifying will be here. To get the perfect lap nailed down is going to be a tricky challenge for these drivers. And the amazing views you get here, we have decided 11 champions in Formula 1 at this track. It's a track with a lot of history, a lot of heritage along it as well. We've got 18 turns, 5.8 kilometers takes us round this originally Honda testing ground, now used for Grand Prix racing. Let's take you on a quick lap of Suzuka.
Hi, this is Kevin Magnussen from Haas F1 team. I love Suzuka circuit because it's a real driver's track. It's an extremely fast circuit. It's really a historic track and lots of great races in the past. Can't wait to go there again. So let's have a look at the onboard camera. So here we go, preparing for the lap. The exit here of the last corner is turning a little bit, so getting on power is kind of difficult with the traction. First corner is a flat out entry. You turn in with full throttle, you just close the DRS manually before turning in, and then you just try and avoid too much understeer mid corner. The next part is these S's that are probably one of the best sections of any track in the world. Just really brings out the best in a Formula 1 car with all this downforce. Flat out here, entering another great corner. You just get off the throttle, brake a little bit. Next one is more braking, tricky. If you lock up, big chance of going off the track. Another corner where you enter. I'm steering on the wheel, so you very big chance of locking up the front wheel. Going onto another great corner, entering extremely quick. This whole track is just fast, and again very difficult to get into the apex with the understeer. Important to get back on power early and get a good exit because of all this long straight you have after. So this corner is 130R. Used to be a very challenging corner. Now it's easy flat. Big braking into the last chicane. Again, try and get back on power with this turning exit, and off you go, finish the lap.
That's a lap then of Suzuka on board with Kevin Magnussen. And well, what a lap that was, just showing us how it's done. Now the drivers have to do that in just one lap, Justin, just to make sure they get every single apex nailed, every single corner, and more importantly, as some drivers have said earlier on, to avoid those track limits.
Yeah, it can be so difficult, especially under this much pressure with everybody watching around the world as well. And these guys will be well aware of how many eyes are on them.
Jump straight into one-shot qualifying, and we're seeing here standing shake-up on the left-hand side. Take a brief look at that at the start of the lap and see where it is at the end of it. We're seeing Julian Naumann now make his way in through the Degnas, through Degna 1 and then through Degna 2, really attacking that section there as we now make our way underneath the track above and now towards the hairpin. One of the most obvious overtaking opportunities on the entire track. Heavy braking into the hairpin. Kamui Kobayashi loved a move at the inside of a hairpin. Capua's currently leading at the moment, but of course that doesn't mean a lot halfway round the lap as we have the other half to go. Making our way now in through the spoon curve and still following Julian Naumann as he now makes his way down the hills. Quickly switches now to Alessio De Capua, who now makes his way onwards then towards 130R, entering the third and final sector of the track, then preparing yourself for a flat out left-hander here. Through 130R we go, and then towards the Casio triangle. Pick out your braking spot for here, then it's that right, left, and then down the hill we go through the right-hander. Who's it going to be to grab that pole position then for the Japanese Grand Prix as they head towards the line? It's Alessio De Capua who gets pole position once again for the Japanese Grand Prix. He looks dead set to try and take win number 4 in the series, and he takes pole position at least for now.
What a performance from De Capua. Incredible time from him and from Matteo.
Well, there you go then, to Capua just on pole position by 0.034 seconds then. Josh Idawu in third place. That's Nicolas Matteo then in second place. It's Sven Nurle in fourth with Bentasabo Cogni in fifth. Ruben Vallejo in sixth place with Jan Fehler in seventh. Tom 97 in eighth place with Jake Wills in ninth. And Julian rounds out the top 10. Pablo Hoglar in 11th place with Norbert Jakob in 12th place made a mistake somewhere out on that lap. And there you can see 4 drivers invalidated their lap times here at Suzuka. Not quite as bad as the 5 drivers we saw last night, eh, Justin?
Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, they did an incredible job. Again, I got to say, really, really impressed by Alessio Di Capua. This event in particular, he seems to really be cementing himself as a serious person to be looked at by the teams come the draft. He's somebody that I didn't really know coming into this, and what a performance from him all season long. But this is really just the cherry on top. What a performance in Italy, taking the pole at Suzuka at a track that's so important to have pole position as well.
Yeah, Alessio Di Capua, if he gets the win here tonight, he would have won half the races we've had in Challengers on PC so far. That is just how dominant he has been in terms of race wins, and he's been pretty consistent everywhere else. That's why he's the series leader, but not long to wait now before we have the Japanese Grand Prix. A couple of clouds in the sky hopefully won't dampen our spirits or dampen the racing right about now, and hopefully everyone gets their clutch biting point in the right place at the right time as we take the cars onto the grid now and await the start of the Japanese Grand Prix as the lights count up to signal the start of this one. It is 5 red lights. We're racing at Suzuka. What are the starts like? It's a good start from Di Capua. It's a good start as well from Josh Idawu. Nicholas Matteo getting a good start as well as we make our way now in towards the first corner. Let's see if everyone can keep it nice and tidy all the way through. Jan Fehler up into 6th place. Ruben Vallejo dropping down to 7th place. Jake Wills trying to defend from Pablo Hoglar as we make our way through. Going too wide there. That's Pablo Hoglar. He's onto the grass then. Just about keeping it in the right direction. Oh, he gets a little bit of a tail as well out there as Patrick Sipos is caught up in that one as they all try and make their way through, still going in through the Dunlop curve, and that's Iker Baena who's off the track then, off into the gravel at the Dunlop curve. It looks like he kept it out of the barrier at the very least, but he's off into the gravel and he's all the way down the order now. Di Capua leading the way from Nicholas Matteo in 2nd place, Josh Idawu in 3rd with Sven Nurler in 4th place, Sabo Konyi in 5th, Fehler in 6th, Vallejo in 7th, Tom 97 in 8th, Jake Wills in 9th and Julian Naumann rounding off the top 10 with Atta Kalpanen looking to try and make up for lost ground here.
The only movement in the top 10 was Jan Fehler on Ruben Vallejo, swapping 6th and 7th positions from where they started in the race. But other than that, everybody in the top 10 is exactly where they started this race. You can see very, very small gaps on the left-hand side. Smallest gap of all those, Tom 97 on the back of Ruben Vallejo, already on lap 1. The YouTuber is looking pretty feisty here.
Yeah, Julian Naumann looking for a move as well on Jake Wills as they make their way now in towards the Casio triangle as we make our way on towards the start-finish straight for the second time then. Tom 97 in the slipstream of Ruben Vallejo. Of course, no DRS online so far as we make our way now down towards turn 1. And yeah, not quite close enough to try and move this time around, looking on board over the shoulder of the suspension, if you like, of Tom 97 onwards towards Ruben Vallejo. And of course here, Tom 97 has had 3 starts so far, 2 points finishes. It's not bad record for him.
Yeah, I gotta say, I continue to be impressed by the people that are filling in mid-season, even if it's only one event. It's just been absolutely incredible. There's been seasons past where we've had people fill in and maybe just, we're a little bit off the pace to where they couldn't really be involved in these battles and challenging for the points and stuff like that, which is totally understandable. But to see the way that these drivers are coming in this season and just immediately taking it to the drivers that started with race number 1 is fantastic to see. Absolutely loving it. And look at this. It's still so tight. There's going to be a couple of there was a couple of incidents on that opening lap that I think may need to be looked at potentially. We'll keep you guys updated if there are any sort of penalties or anything like that going on. Oh, look at that. Ruben Vallejo going from being the prey to being the hunter. He's all over the back of Jan Fehler. He wants that 6th place position back.
From prey to predator. Let's see what he can do then as we make our way through 130R. Ruben Vallejo trying to close in on Jan Fehler now as we make our way in towards the Casio triangle for the second time. DRS will be activated when they cross the line, but they can't use it until the next time around. Alessio Di Capua, of course, setting the fastest lap of the race just into the 127s with 127 and all the 9s. Over the cockpit then of Ruben Vallejo as he tries to close in on Jan Fehler ahead of him. Looking up at the rest of the field, we've got Norbert Jakob here trying and close in on Atta Kalpanen. So that's a battle for 11th place, but watching out then for the battle towards the lower end of the field as well, because the cars are much more bunched up, trying to battle for 10th place at this moment in time, as Vallejo makes his way through the Dunlop curve and adjusting something on the steering wheel there. Maybe just a little bit of a engine mix, or at least fuel mix I should say, up to rich maybe, down towards standard, to try and get and reduce the wheel spin out of some of these corners. Norbert Jakob picks up the first 3-second time penalty of the race. That'll be added on to the end of his race time as we make our way in towards the hairpin. Now onto the exit through this long right-hander of turn 12, full throttle all the way through, even with a race load of fuel on board.
Everybody outside the top 10 is on the medium compound of tires, just for everybody at home. So really impressed, though, the way that Atte Kauppinen is keeping up with Julian. Oh, that's Patrick Sipos all over the back of Pablo Hoglar, who might potentially have some front wing damage after a couple of collisions on lap 1. So it wouldn't surprise me if the AlphaTauri does have some sort of front wing damage, which is allowing Patrick Sipos to really just fly up to the back of him. You can see practically pushing him through the Casio triangle, and this will be his first opportunity picking up the DRS. A few drivers into the pits already, though. And let's see, are all of them soft runners? It's looking like they are not, actually. Atte Kauppinen and Norbert Jakob are actually medium runners. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. They're switching onto the softs quite early, end of lap 3. So that means a 10-lap stint on the softs, of course, on lighter fuel, and they're brand new soft compound tires. So interesting to see. We did see quite the variation when it came to the pit stops for the drivers earlier this week. So it looks like that's going to continue here today.
Yeah, well, of course, they would have run strategy after strategy, mode after mode, plan A after plan B after plan C, all the way down to plan Z, and then putting 2 letters in the plan just to make sure they cover every single base. They know what to do in certain scenarios. They would have planned for a worst case scenario, and they clearly feel that the soft tyres will last them these 10-11 laps to get them to the end of the race. We'll have to see how they get on later on in this race. Tikapua then leading the way from Nicolas Matteo, Josh Idawu in 3rd place. So out of the top 3, only 2 of them have swapped positions, Matteo and Idawu. It is Tikapua who still leads the way here at the Japanese Grand Prix. It's Sven Nurla in 4th place. Benta Sabo Conny once again holding down 5th place, at least for now. Ruben Vallejo is doing his best, only 2 tenths back, to try and change that. Tom 97 in 7th place with Jake Wills in 8th. We're seeing Nicolas Matteo then make his way in towards the pit lane and really desperately trying to slow that car down to make sure he meets the pit speed limit.
Yeah, exactly. A big lockup. Lots of cars into the pits, though. Oh, that's a big hold for Nicolas Matteo. He's gotten absolutely mugged in the pit lane. You've really got to feel for him on that one. That's completely out of his control, and he's going to lose a number of positions as a result of that. He's got to keep his head down, though. We've said it before. We're going to say it again. The teams are interested to see how people bounce back from adversity. And look at this, feeding out back into the traffic. It's going to be very, very tight through turn 1.
It is indeed, as we see Patrick Sipos and Benta Sabo Conny once again battling for position. So they can't seem to be away from each other at the moment. But for Nicolas Matteo, I think he'll be the most frustrated of all. All that hard work for him pushing in 2nd place has now resulted in him being all the way down into 12th place. He's got a lot on his plate right now. But as you said, Justin, this is when teams start to perk up. What are you going to do from here on in? Are you going to let that get to you? Or are you going to push on and make this a recovery drive to remember?
Interesting. Atte Kauppinen is now 7th, started the race in 13th on mediums and made that early switch to softs. Now finds himself in 7th position right behind Tom 97, which is just up the road from this battle that we're watching at the moment with Patrick Sipos, Benta Sabaconye, Nicolas Matteo, who is definitely going to be keen to get by. We've got the top 3 into the pits now. I'm very curious to see how they've been taking care of their tires. The overcut may have been successful here, potentially. Let's see come the exit of the pits.
Wait and see as we are approaching half distance in this race. Meanwhile, then you can see Patrick Sipos trying a move on Jake Wills down in towards the Casio triangle. He's got the inside line. Can he slow that down in time? They're still going to be side by side as we make our way through the final corner at turn 18. Jake Wills was just about held on, but Benta Sabo Conny fancies a slice of the action as well. The 2 Renaults go side by side, and Jake Wills decides to cover off the inside line. Benta Sabo Conny takes a position away from Patrick Sipos. There's a McLaren up the inside. It's Nicolas Matteo on a charge and gets the position up to 11th place. He goes. He sniffed the opportunity and took it without a second thought.
Incredible stuff from Matteo. Like I said, I think he's fired up after having that really difficult pit stop. Ooh, possible contact between himself and Benson Sabaconi, possibly some more contact. They're getting very close through the Dunlop curve. He's looking to possibly making the overtake into the Degners, but no, he's gonna hang back for the meantime. Probably the right call. But yeah, Matteo clearly frustrated with that pit stop, lost a ton of time through no fault of his own. He's gonna be looking to regain as many of those positions on track as he possibly can, because of course they're not going to be coming back in. Yellow flags out in sector 1, sector 2 sort of area. Not sure what that's for, but yeah, Nicholas Matteo on a charge. He's probably going to be one to watch for the rest of this race.
Yeah, I think those yellow flags are for Julian Naumann because he's fallen all the way off the timing screen there. So he's had a moment somewhere. He's fallen all the way now down to the bottom of the field. But Nicholas Matteo has got points in his sights now. He's got Benza Sabo-Konyi right ahead of him as we make our way through 130R. Meanwhile then, Alessio Di Capua has held on to the lead of the race. Josh Idawu now is in second place with Sven Nurler now rounding off the top three. Jan Fehler in fourth place, Ruben Vallejo in fifth. Tom 97 is up to sixth place with Atte Kalpanen in seventh place. Meanwhile then, Nicholas Matteo is right on the back then as we make our way on towards turn one of Benza Sabo-Konyi. He's looking for a move up the inside here, tries to grab the inside line in towards turn two. They give each other the room. How about on the exit through the S-curves, then through turn three? Matteo's on the outside but manages to snatch the position away and gets himself now up into the point. Sabo-Konyi down to 11th place, but Matteo means business. He was not going to take that lying down. He's back into the points.
Firm but fair from Nicholas Matteo as Julian unfortunately retires. 14 cars still remaining in this race at about half distance or thereabouts. But yeah, Nicholas Matteo, I'd say that was, like I said, firm but fair. He really wanted to get by. Incredible from Benza Sabo-Konyi as well to be able to go side by side like that without having a huge incident, a huge crash. Debris flying absolutely everywhere, a wheel going off into the distance, bouncing off into the grass. That's certainly the sort of thing that can happen. So, yeah, great respect for both of those drivers to manage to not have an incident there. But Matteo now onto the back of Jake W. Let's see if he's going to make it another overtake this lap.
I mean, he's not going to take it lying down, that is for sure, as we make our way through 130R once again. He's now got Jake Wills in his sights, heading on towards the Casio Triangle. As we now make our way through, Josh Idawu setting the fastest lap of the race, then 27.8 on those medium tyres. See if he can close in even more as we now watch on Nicholas Matteo closing in. Just jumping now to the battle for the lead because it is really closed up here. Less than a quarter of a second as Nicholas Matteo does get that move done on Jake Wills. Now moves up into 9th place. Josh Idawu now means business. He wants a race win now, today, and he's got around about 6 laps to do it. 5 and a bit if you're picky.
Yeah, if he wants to pick up the, if he wants to win this championship, he really needs to stop Alessio Di Capua from winning races because 3 wins for him is just that's a huge amount of points to overhaul. Yeah, he's really going to try to grab this one if he can. He's not in the best position. It's not the same sort of situation as Monza, where potentially being in second is actually beneficial. You really want track position here, which is why I really rate Atte Kalpanen's strategy. Again, I think he has done an incredible job to gain 6 positions in this race, and he did it almost entirely during the pit stop phase by going onto those softs at the end of lap 3, I believe it was, 3 or 4. Very early stop, starting on the medium, switching over to the softs. That's gained him a lot of positions. Now he just needs to try and hold on ahead of Norbert Jakob, who's got that penalty just behind him. Let's see, though, if Idawu is going to try to take this position here as they finish lap 8 and start lap 9.
These drivers, these two, have already had at least 1 race win under their name. But here comes Josh Idawu then going side by side down towards turn 1. And he's taken that position away with some DRS. And Josh Idawu now takes over the lead of this race. Di Capua now down to 2nd place. We have 5 to go here. 4 and a bit if you're picky. Idawu leads the way from Di Capua. And now Idawu will just try and launch an attack, try and run quali mode laps as much as he can to try and get himself a gap towards Di Capua, because now all that energy he's saved up, he's going to be using to try and get away from the Italian.
Exactly right. And they've got a huge gap down to Sven Nurler behind, so they really don't need to take it easy or anything like that. If Alessio Di Capua wants to... Oh, Jake W. picking up a 3-second time penalty, the second person to pick up a penalty today at Suzuka anyway. But yeah, he's going to be pushing very hard, and Di Capua can battle with him without risking too much Nurler coming into it. Yes, he's only 3 seconds away. Yes, that can shrink pretty darn quick. But yeah, that's a pretty comfortable gap, a bigger gap than we've seen for the vast majority of the races in the 2021 Challenger Series season. So yeah, they've got they can play around with it. They don't have to play it safe here. And both of them, I think, have enough points at this stage where they can risk it a little bit. So I'm expecting De Capo is not going to hang around here. He's going to apply the pressure immediately.
Tell you what, splitting hairs would be further apart than these two, that's for sure. As De Capo are now on to the start-finish race. Josh Idawu sets the fast lap of the race at 27.766 as De Capo with DRS not quite close enough just yet, but you can see there he wasn't attacking with his ERS deployment there, really trying to save up the battery as Nicolas Matteo really sets the message there. Fastest lap of the race for himself as he's now 1.2 behind Norbert Jakob. He's only got a handful of laps to go, but it's a solid recovery drive wherever he finishes.
You can't help but feel that we've been robbed a little bit of the three-way battle because Nicolas Matteo was really on it within 34 thousandths of a second slower than De Capo's pole position during qualifying. Incredibly close, looked very, very strong in the race as well, and has had an incredible recovery drive. He's now within DRS range of the soft tire car of Norbert Jakob, who's on the soft tires. They're aging now at this point, so that might be beneficial for Matteo as he catches back up to him. But really, really impressive stuff. To see the way that he's recovered has been absolutely incredible. Also, shout out to Tom97 up there in 6th position. He's another one, just like Atte Kauppinen, who has really taken advantage of the pit stop phase to gain some positions, and he's holding on to it, driving really well in 6th position.
No doubt about that, as he wants even more points on the board then as we head now in towards the Casio Triangle on board then with Alessio De Capua, our series leader, making our way now through the final corner and onwards towards the start-finish line to start lap number 11. 3 to go here at Suzuka, and Idawu is about holding on just for now as De Capua closes in with a little bit of DRS, then making our way in through turns 1 and 2. Well, I mean, Justin, if you had to throw your hat in the ring here, who's winning this one?
I think I gotta say Josh is probably gonna come out ahead on this one. I think he feels a little bit robbed missing out on the win at Monza last time out. I think he thought that it was probably his for the taking and just missed out. So, and he's got track position, and again, it's so difficult to overtake here. And as you said, the pace difference between them is not that great. The tire deficit between the two of them is negligible or nothing at all. So, yeah, I think with that track position, it's his to lose at this stage.
Well, we're going to see if Justin... Whoa, there goes Nicolas Matteo up the inside at the hairpin. Can he get the traction down? And now making our way through in towards turn 12. He had the outside line, but he's got the position. And up to 8th place he goes. He's got no time for our small talk. He's making big moves.
Driver of the day. I'm going to go ahead and say it for Nicolas Matteo just to see the way that he's navigated this field. And again, it's so close between all of these drivers. So to see Matteo driving up to 8th position, he's onto the back of Atte Kauppinen, who is again on pretty old soft compound tires at this stage. So he's picking up the DRS off of Tom97 though, so that's going to be a little bit helpful for him. But yeah, what else can Nicolas Matteo? 2 laps to go for the McLaren driver. How high can he go?
How high can he go? The sky's the limit.
I think he was coming under attack there. Alessio De Capo, I think, was side by side into turn 1.
Well, he's just about held on to the lead just now as we've rejoined that battle then going through the Dunlop curve with less than 2 laps to go. Through we go on towards the Degner curves then, and Idawu just about holding on, but you can see here De Capua has just been eating away at that gap. Bit after bit, lap after lap, sector after sector. He's putting Idawu under pressure, but at the moment, Idawu is doing his best and doing well to hold off the charging Italian as we make our way now in towards turn 12. This long right-hander, full throttle all the way through here as we now make our way on towards the spoon curve, this double left-hander of 13 and 14. Let's see what happens now as we make our way on towards 130R. Is De Capua going to be close enough to get a move done on Idawu? He's in the slipstream, that's for sure. Heading towards 130R. We've seen something similar to this before at some point in history, but it's not going to happen this time around as we now make our way towards the Casio triangle. They're going to go side by side through here. Idaho just about grabbing the inside line, and there you can see De Capua putting all that pressure on as we make our way through the final corner and towards the start-finish line to start the final lap of this race. Here comes De Capua with his DRS wide open. Idaho defends the inside line. De Capua gets the position, gets the racing line, and takes back the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix. Josh Idaho falls down to second place, and he's got less than 5 kilometers to really try and find a way back past. But with that last DRS overtaking opportunity gone, Josh Idaho is going to have to climb a mountain in order to get this win as we head our way through the Dunlop curve once again. Let's have a replay of this one. So there you can see De Capua had the slipstream, opened up the DRS, used a bit of ERS as well, and had the move done before the braking zone. He was willing to take that racing line. In fact, it was much closer than I thought. In fact, that was a lap ago that Josh Idaho managed to hold on to that position. He couldn't do that one this time around because I don't think he had quite the same ERS levels as he had the lap before. And there you can see now it's more than half a second, the gap between them now, making our way now on towards the Spoon Curve for the final time here tonight as we now make our way through onwards then towards 130. And you can see Josh Idaho is starting to fall behind bit by bit. De Capua is on a charge here as we make our way once again for the final time towards 130. Oh, you saw there De Capua just maybe defend slightly into 130 just in case, heading towards the Casio triangle. But De Capua here just has a couple of corners to negotiate all the way through here. And he now comes towards the start-finish line to take the win here at the Japanese Grand Prix. Win number 4 for Alessio De Capua, as that's a late charge then from Nicolas Matteo to try and take some positions off of Atte Kauppinen, but he finishes in 8th place. That's a stunning drive from a really frustrating day for him. It's Sven Nurle in 3rd place, Ruben Vallejo in 4th, Jan Fehler in 5th, and Tom 97 rounding off the top 6. A great battle between the two protagonists here of the Italian and the Welshman, but it's the Italian who came out on top. Let's have another look at this one. So this is on the final lap now. I'll get the laps right. Here comes De Capua then. You see now he's got the slipstream. He was hell-bent on getting that slipstream and then just swooped on by with that ERS, had the racing line before the braking zone and took back the lead of this race. And that was the race-winning move then from Alessio De Capua. Win number 4. Half the races he's entered here at Challengers, he has won. Absolutely dominant.
Incredible stuff. I really would not have expected that. Again, De Capua, a bit of a question mark for me coming into this season, but he cannot be denied.
He really, really can't. And let's have a run through of these running order then. Of course, this is officially unofficial if you're so inclined. It's Alessio De Capua who takes the win. And there you go. Pole position, fastest lap, and the race win. Only the 3rd driver to achieve that this season. Josh Idaho then in 2nd place with Sven Nurle in 3rd place. Ruben Vallejo in 4th with Jan Fehler in 5th. Top 97 in 6th place with Atte Kauppinen in 7th. Nicolas Matteo in 8th. Ventus Sabo Konyi in 9th. And Norbert Jakob rounding off the top 10. Patrick Sipos in 11th place. Pablo Hoglar in 12th. Jake Wills in 13th. Ika Baena in 14th. Julian Naumann, our only retirement of tonight's race here at the Japanese Grand Prix. Well, Justin, let's just recover ourselves. Let's just take back our breath. Let's just take a couple of seconds here. That was a great battle for the lead and a great recovery drive from one Nicolas Matteo.
Yeah, that was incredible. It's unfortunate the circumstances that had to lead to me declaring him just objectively the driver of the day. This isn't up for debate. We're not asking for votes. He is the driver of the day because that was absolutely incredible. I really, really enjoyed that from Nicolas Matteo. Again, I thought coming into this Suzuka race that he was looking pretty comfortable for a top 6 with only 2 races to go. I think he, even with that performance down in 8th position, whatever it was, I still think he's looking very comfortable for a top 6 position. But just absolutely incredible from him, I have to say. Also, I really just want to give a shout out to De Capua and Idaho as well. The way that they battle each other is fantastic. It's exactly what we like to see. The trust between the two of them, the way that they slot in, they race so close together. And, you know, when you race on the internet, there's always that slight little buffer you got to give to people. It's not exactly like if you're in a LAN or you know, you're at the Gfinity Arena for the Pro Series. It's a little different sort of situation racing on the internet. but they trust each other and they believe in each other and what they're going to do, so much so that they can race unbelievably close, and it's really, really impressive to watch. And it's exactly what I love about being a commentator, is watching those moments between top level drivers. That's about as good as it gets. I really enjoyed the races that we got today from those two especially.
Let's just put it this way. 8 races down for PC, 4 of them have been won by Alessio Di Capua. That's some really good form he's in right now. He's just showing us how good he is.
Yeah, and like I said, I really didn't know who he was as a driver coming into this season. I've said before, and I'll say it again, though, that that's part of the magic every year, is just learning these new drivers that are coming through. I can't follow absolutely every single person that plays the F1 2020 game. So this is our way of kind of learning about these drivers. And Alessio Di Capua has really made a name for himself. I don't know about the people at home, but I think you and me, we will never forget that name. He is really putting on a heck of a show for us, and he's definitely going to be turning some heads. And the teams that are going to be drafting these drivers at the pro draft later on, I imagine Alessio Di Capua is at the top or near the top for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, he'd be at the top of everybody's wish list at that point, isn't he? With half the races he's won on the board. 2 races for all drivers now to go. Let's bring in someone who's waiting for an interview. Justin, who are you going to bring in? You're going to bring in Jan Fehler, I believe. Jan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello there.
Jan, hello. How are you? 2 good races for yourself. 2 strong points finishes. How did you find today?
I found it great. Well, partly. The races were great, I have to say. The qualifyings were meh. I think in Japan I had it on my wheel that I was like P5 until the final corner, and then I went in a bit too deep, which cost me 2 positions. But I think I did 2 pretty reasonable recovery drives, if you can call it that. I mean, it wasn't like from back of the grid, but still gained a few positions. And I think with P4 and 5, that probably are my best finishes so far, which says a lot about my season yet. But today I'm very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just having a look here because, Jan, you were 10th place in the standings heading into tonight, and 2 strong point scoring finishes. We can't say exactly where you are, but you've got more points than you started off with tonight, quite a few more. How do you think your season's going so far, and do you still think you can make the top 6?
Well, I'm absolutely clueless about the standings right now. I don't really keep track of that. I'm not a fan of that. I just try and go out, do the races, and maybe before the final race I have a look. But yeah, so far obviously the season wasn't as I had it planned. I mean, Vietnam, the first race already was like, oh well, I hate that track. No, I don't care about that. It's 9 races for me. That's fine. But yeah, the last event, which was Silverstone and Belgium, right? Yeah, that just went absolutely hell. That was very disappointing. But yeah, I think today I showed that my pace, especially in the race, is up there. Well, not up there with Alessio and Josh, maybe. That's absolutely, they're freaks. That's unbelievable. But behind them, I think I can battle for good podiums, and I hope to actually get on the podium finally in the final event then.
Justin, I'll hand over the mic to you.
So are you feeling strong then, heading into Abu Dhabi and Coda? Are these tracks you go well at?
Coda can be fine. Abu Dhabi, unfortunately, I was hoping for Brazil as the classic season finale, but unfortunately it's Abu Dhabi. But I guess, it is no what comment. It is. I mean, I like Japan, but I'm usually not good at Japan. But today, I was close to the podium, so I should be able to do the same at Abu Dhabi, right? That's just logic. So let's go for it.
Well, best of luck. Great result today. Huge congratulations. Great job in the races. Thanks for putting on a good show for us, and we wish you the best of luck in Event 5.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. See you then.
Thanks.
Well, that's Jan Fehler then talking to us about his strong performances at Japan this time around. He had a really good point there. He's struggling all season long, but then he gets 2 points finishes like that.
Yeah, he might still be in this. I'm curious to see. I can't really figure out what's going on points wise, but I do think I agree with you. Certainly this event pointed him more in the right direction. Down in 10th coming into this, but 2 strong finishes could be, just the push that he needs right at the end here. Again, he's one of the most experienced drivers as well too. So when the pressure starts to get to these younger guys at Event 5, that might be Jan Fehler's time to shine.
It really, really could. We'll have to wait how he sees and gets on at next month at the final event. We'll bring another driver in. I believe we've got Tom at 97. Tom, can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear.
Right, Tom. So 4 races you've entered, 3 points finishes so far. That's a pretty good record by my standards. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy actually. Much better this time. Obviously, not thrown in last minute. Had a bit of time to practice. Still not ideal. I think I left a lot on the table. My qualifying really was the big downfall in both races. Yeah, Monza could have been an easy top 5 in qualifying. You know, with the pace I had, and also in Japan, I messed up my lap so bad. It's such a challenge. You know, one-shot qualifying when you've not touched that track after hot off another race, and then you have to kind of get that muscle memory back. It's a challenge, but the races came good. Got a fastest lap in the first one as well. So yeah, points. That's what it's all about. That's what we're here for.
What you are here for, definitely. And heading in towards the back end of this season, it's always tough for a mid-season driver to come in and make an impact. But are you meeting your targets for when you first got in behind the wheel at Britain?
Yeah, pretty much. I wasn't too harsh on myself. I didn't really have any targets, to be honest. I think it was just about having a bit of fun, and I'm having that fun right now. It's really good fun. Obviously, sometimes races go your way, sometimes they don't. I'm aware a lot of people had issues with being held in the pits today. I, for once, actually benefited, because normally when you have the Ferrari garage, 9 times out of 10 you're going to get held being that far ahead. But today I didn't have that problem, so that's where I think I gained a lot. I was shocked. You know, I was that far ahead after the pit stops. I didn't know what happened. I thought there must have been a crash or something, because I didn't know how I rejoined net P6, but I did, held on. I tried to challenge Fader at the end, but my braking into that final chicane in Japan is not very good.
Well, you've done an incredible job, I have to say. After that 6 today, you did say you had a little bit of luck on your side. Are you thinking about next season? Is this an encouraging kind of result for you for future events as well?
A few months ago, I would have said no. I've been very clear. You know, I didn't do league racing not too long ago. I kind of got back into it. I've been kind of climbing the ladder again. And I've always said I'll never do F1 Esports, because I'm aware of the dedication it takes to kind of step up to that level. I still kind of think that. But having said that, you know, this game was a big improvement for me, the way the game handles and the setups work compared to 2019. If 2021 goes in that direction, then you never know. Listen, I'm open to it now. I'd say I'm more open than before. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Well, again, huge congratulations. Great result today. It was great watching you out there. I mean, you looked like you belonged on the grid. So, yeah, glad to have you along.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And nice t-shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. See you next time.
Yeah, cheers.
So Tom 97 there. Tom 97. Yes, of course, he got the fastest lap at Italy, which is something we really brushed past at the time. But it was a great lap at the end from him, at the final lap, I think it was.
Yeah, again, I gotta say, as a content creator, you know, somebody who this isn't his primary thing is just pure lap time and that sort of stuff, to come in and be competitive like that is really, really impressive. Because yeah, it oftentimes it is kind of 2 separate things. You have the YouTubers and stuff like that, and then you have the F1 esports guys. They are starting to blend together, though. We've seen esports drivers doing more content creation, and now we're starting to see content creators getting up to esports level of, so it's all kind of merging together. I mean, eventually we're going to have Ereva and Tiamat Marduk driving in the F1 esports. Who knows? Maybe it could happen.
Maybe it could. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Hold your breath on that one, for sure. But yeah, we've seen some great racing here today. And let's have a talk about some drivers. I mean, Josh Idawu, 2 second places. I mean, I think he'll be feeling a bit gutted that he didn't get at least 1 win in that one. But still, 36 points from him today. Not a bad tally whatsoever.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help him in his quest to get into the top 6. I would say, yeah, big help today. He was coming into it, what was it, 64 points that he was coming in with? Yeah, 64 points. So that's going to put him on 100 points, actually. So I would say he's safe. He's probably going to be in the top 6 come the end of the season with only 52 points, a maximum of 52 points left on offer. So looking really good for him. But I would love to hear from him, to hear, you know, if these are just tracks that he didn't go well at. You know, is he actually disappointed, or is he actually happy with that 2nd place position? Because De Capo is a bit of an alien right now. So, you know, if you are going to lose to somebody, he's the one to lose to, because he really is just on an incredible level right now. I don't want to say another level because Idawu was right there with him. So he's not, a step ahead of Josh or anything like that, but he just seemed to have that little advantage here today. He kept Josh behind at a track where I didn't think being in the lead on the final lap would be beneficial. He kept him behind. Wow, amazing. And then exact opposite. He made the overtake in Japan, which I didn't think was going to be an easy thing to do with how close they are on speed. I really didn't think it was going to be easy for either of them to overtake the other one. I really thought track position was going to be the determining factor of who won in Japan. And again, he proved me wrong. And that's really something. So I would love to hear Idawu's thoughts on it. Unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to hear from him. He is on stream. He's got his own stream. Again, esports guys are turning into content creators. He's streaming and stuff like that. So that's probably why he's not coming over. Let's pretend it's not a personal thing that he just dislikes us or something. But I would be very interested to see. I'll check out his Twitter later on and see if he explains what happened today.
Yeah, that's a good excuse, Justin, as to why he didn't know. It's definitely not personal, absolutely not. But 2 second places to his name, healthy amount of points next to his name going into the final two races next month. I say next month, it's later on this month. I should really.
That's right.
It's more accurate. Obviously, Nicolas Matteo came into this tonight second in the standings. He had a podium, but then everything stacked against him in Japan. I thought he did superbly with that recovery drive.
Yeah, Patrick Sipos didn't have the best of days either, because of course, he was just behind Nicolas Matteo in those standings, 2 points behind coming into this event. I don't have the race results from the first race, but not even scoring points did Patrick Sipos in Japan. So Matteo's a little bit lucky in that regard. So I think he's might have been overhauled by Josh Idawu. It might be close between the two of them, actually. But obviously, Alessio Di Capua, I mean, he's pulled away from absolutely everybody today. Obviously, when you pick up the win, that means you're gaining in the championship on absolutely everybody. So he's, of course, had the best day out of everybody.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, he got a fastest lap added to his tally as well. So he actually scored 51 points today.
That's right.
So a really good result for him in that way. And if my maths is on my side, which it normally isn't, he's pulled out a huge gap to everyone else behind him. He goes into the final two events. Pretty comfortable, if not already sealed his spot in Challengers or in the Pro Draft.
I got to say, this really feels like an Italian-heavy season. And I wonder if that's because of David Tanizza. I wonder about that, because it really seems like Italian kind of supremacy coming through recently. Just really, really strong performances. A lot of Italian drivers in the 2021 Challenger season across the various platforms as well too. But this dominance from Alessio Di Capua, and I really feel previously it was kind of British dominance. Back in the olden days, before F1 Esports was even a thing, I remember, the top level leagues, you would often see a lot of British flags, actually. Oftentimes half the field was British flags and stuff. But these days it really seems to be, a lot more Italian and Spanish drivers and Hungarian drivers coming through and stuff like that. And it really seems to be spreading out for our benefit. That variety has made things even closer. This season has proven that it's tighter than it's ever been. It's more competitive than it's ever been, and it's great to see somebody get that win at their home race, especially. I feel like that's always something really special. I always like to see that.
Atte Kalponen, then. I mean, let's rip the plaster off for him again. I mean, he had that drive through at the Italian Grand Prix for the jump start. Finished in the points, at least, at Japan. Just, it wasn't his event today, was it?
No, yeah, it really wasn't. Coming into it in that very tight battle, Ruben Vallejo had a good race in Japan, not quite as good at Monza, if I remember correctly. Just off the podium in Japan, though, Ruben Vallejo having a better race. I did predict that at the beginning. I thought that he was further down than he should be. So we'll see. I think we may actually have the results, so we might be able to get answers to all of these questions now.
and more. Well, let's see. First of all, how the standings look at the Italian Grand Grand Prix. So the race results for there are as follows. Alessio Di Capua grabbing the race win. That was his 3rd race win of the season. Josh Idawu in 2nd place. Nicolas Matteo there rounding off the top 3. It was Jan Fehler in 4th place. Ruben Vallejo in 5th. Benta Sabo Conyi in 6th place with Julian Naumann in 7th. Norbert Jakob in 8th place. Tom Martinez, Tom 97 in 9th. And Pablo Hoglar rounding off the top 10. Fastest lap of the race happened outside of the top 10, so no one got that. Oh, sorry, no, it was Tom 97 who grabbed it, so he gets us an extra point. Sven Nurle in 11th place with Patrick Sipos in 12th. Jake Wills in 13th with Ika Baena in 14th, and Atta Kauppinen finishing the race in 15th place. All 15 drivers that started this race managed to find the checkered flag. At the Japanese Grand Prix then, it was Alessio Di Capua who did the Grand Slam pole position, fastest lap and the race win to take 26 points. Josh Idawu in 2nd place. Sven Nurle is in 3rd with Ruben Vallejo in 4th place. Jan Fehler in 5th with Tom 97 in 6th. Atta Kauppinen in 7th place with Nicolas Matteo in 8th. Benta Sabo Conyi in 9th place with Norbert Jakob rounding off the top 10. To go through and complete the rest of the standings, Patrick Sipos in 11th place, Pablo Hoglar in 12th, Jake Wills in 13th place, Ika Baena in 14th place, Julian Naumann, the only retirement this event for PC. And so when you add those results onto the pole standings, what do we get? We get Alessio Di Capua with a huge buffer. 135 points, 35 ahead of Josh Idawu. Nicolas Matteo then in 3rd place with Ruben Vallejo in 4th. Patrick Sipos in 5th place with Atta Kauppinen in 6th on 66 points. So that's going to be an important figure going forward. Benta Sabo Conyi is in 7th place on the same points as Kauppinen. Jan Fehler in 8th on 44 points. Sven Nurle in 9th on 37. Tom 97 rounding off the top 10 on 17 points. By my calculations, 14 points is what you need to be in the running of the top 6. So Norbert Jakob on 8 points, Julian Naumann in 12th on 7 points, Pablo Hoglar in 13th on 5 points, Ika Baena in 14th on 1 point there, Oleg Nakodowski and Jake Wills pointless so far in this season. So what that looks like is Norbert Jakob downwards, I'm afraid, Justin, are not going to be able to mathematically make it into that top 6 anymore, but they've still got one more event to run, and that's of course when we head to Kota and Yas Marina for the final 2 races, and they happen at the end of this month, the 27th, the 28th and the 29th of April. All to play for then in PC for that top 6. It looks as tight as it came, as tight as it was at the start of the event at least.
Alessio Di Capua, though, wow, really impressive. As we expected, Idawu did in fact gain 2 positions. He did overhaul Nicolas Matteo, but it's only by a handful of points or so. So yeah, they are going to be pretty close. I think it was 7 points actually between the 2 of them. So they're going to be quite close heading into that final round. And again, that's one of those things where you essentially just need to be the one that comes out ahead. He doesn't need a car in between them or anything, anything funny like that. He doesn't need him to retire. So Nicolas Matteo, I think, is going to have 1 goal and 1 goal only for Event 5, and that is to beat Josh Idawu. He's going to be looking to beat Josh, and that is the #1 goal for him. They're both looking pretty comfortable for the top 6. I don't think they could be knocked out with that kind of points haul. 193, that's quite a lot. So yeah, I think they're pretty safe. So at this point, they're probably just laser focused on one another. Idawu, can he overhaul a 35-point deficit? See, that would require some bad luck from our championship leader, and that's not something I'm willing to bet on.
No, but what I am willing to bet on is that you will be joining us, myself and Justin, for the last event of Challengers. It has absolutely flown by, and we still don't really know what our top 6 is going to be like. So we hope you can join us for the USA and Abu Dhabi, where we let those drivers out on PS4, on Xbox and PC one last time. Justin, as I'll ask you here, who's a driver that stood out for you today, this event?
Nicolas Matteo, driver of the day.
There you go. I don't think you need to provide an explanation for that either. So we'll just leave it at that. So thank you very much for joining us on this event 4 of Challengers here on the PC side. We will hopefully see you at the end of the month, where we do it all over again at the USA and Abu Dhabi. From myself, Kieran McGinley, and Justin Sutton alongside, it's been a pleasure to bring you these races, and we hope to see you again very soon. Hopefully tomorrow is a good Friday for you, and if it's not, hope you have a good weekend anyway. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you very soon. Good night.